Hello there, collectors, hobbyists, game-worn enthusiasts, card collectors, and everyone interested in the finer things in life and collectibles. My name is Mike Provenzale. I'm the production manager at Heritage Auctions Sports Department, and tonight's a big night. It is session 2 of our Summer Platinum Night auction is closing tonight, and yes, tonight is the night that the 1932 Babe Ruth called shot jersey finds a new home. We're very excited that you're joining us, and we're very excited in general. It's been quite the month. We got to see everybody at the National and the many shows and previews we've done, and it all leads up to this, where the most iconic and well-documented and authenticated piece of memorabilia to ever hit the auction block is going to find a new home, a new owner in just a few 90 minutes we're at almost, and then beyond. Extended bidding begins at 10 p.m. Central Time in 90 minutes. So you have to have your bid in before then, especially if you want to buy something in session 2. And then we have session 3 tomorrow night, same situation. Extended bidding begins at 10 p.m. Central Time, and you have all night and all day tomorrow to bid on those. So I'm going to be joined by a few guests this evening. We're going to talk about our favorite items in the auction, some of the highlights, some of the interesting pieces, some of the more unique items that are going to find new homes this evening. But it's been quite the whirlwind since we announced that the called shot jersey would be coming to the auction block several months ago. It was very important to us that as many collectors as possible could see it. Very few, of course, can afford an 8-figure gamer, but it's such a legendary piece. We wanted to make sure it got out there to all the shows, all the previews, as many cities as possible as we could. So here's the rundown of where it's been in the last few weeks. We started out after we launched the auction. We had a preview at Texas Live right next to the Globe Ballpark, the Ranger Stadium, while the Major League Baseball All-Star Game was going on. We had a lot of the highlights from the auction, which is one of the most incredible auctions we've put on, and we had a great time there. A lot of fans, a lot of baseball writers came by to see it. From there, we took the called shot jersey and some highlights to our Chicago office, where we had a preview there. The Ruth called shot jersey coming back to Chicago, along with some of the important pieces that will also be finding new homes this weekend. And since we had the Ruth jersey in Chicago, we had to take it back to Wrigley Field, which was an incredible experience. As you can see, we took it down on the field. It was in the batter's box at Wrigley for the first time since Game 3 of 1932 World Series. The Cubs players got to see it. They were very excited. The Cubs staff, the Cubs were great. They made it time for all of their employees to come get their picture with it. And then, of course, the fans. It was Cubs Brewers that night, a night game at Wrigley. And we had the jersey on display in the concourse where the Cubs have their Hall of Fame in left field. And every fan who wanted to got to come and take their picture with it and see it. Truly remarkable experience. And then, of course, from there, it was the National Sports Collectors Convention in Cleveland. Great to see so many old friends and new friends there. Well over 100,000 attendees at the National this year. Very successful show. And of course, everybody had to come see the Bambinos jersey, plus everything we had on display. It was quite the museum we set up at the IX Center for a full week. A great time. And then from there, we took it to our newly opened Palm Beach, Florida office, home to the illustrious Rob Rosen. And it had its moment there. We had a preview in Florida as well, the first preview at our Palm Beach office. So if you are in Florida, be sure to come by. We'd love to see you there. From Palm Beach, of course, we had to take the Ruth jersey to New York, to our office on Park Avenue, newly renovated. It is a full gallery right there on Park Avenue. You could see all the jerseys right through the window and all the highlights as well. We had it there for a week and a half, had 2 receptions, and a lot of fun. A lot of fans just walking by happened to see the jerseys and popped in. One of the great things was this brought out so many people who didn't know anything about our industry, and they got to learn about it. And then now we've had it at a preview in our beautiful world headquarters here in Dallas, Texas, where I am sitting right now as we are on the verge of finding new homes for some of the iconic items in the auction. So the end of a very long trip. Happy to say I've lived with these items for almost a month now, and I know a lot of collectors would like that opportunity. It was a great time, and thank you to everyone who came out to see us and the items. It's been a really fun month, and we can't wait to do it again. And perfect timing, impeccable timing even. There he is, most bear huggingest, roly poliest, bombastic man in the industry, Mr. Tony Giese. Oh no, Tony.
We had some technical difficulties, but we are here now. So it's an exciting night. I mean, this is the biggest night of our careers, probably, with these amazing jerseys selling and amazing memorabilia and cards. This is I've never seen anything like it. So
I've never seen Tony more excited, ladies and gentlemen, and that is saying something.
Yes,
So,
yes. It's been a whirlwind, and the National was so much fun having people come up and taking their photos with it, and just to be able to sell such a cool. I mean, and I had this conversation with a lot of people. So many of these other auction items would have been the cover of every Platinum Night catalog. It just so happens that this one we have the Called Shot jersey. We've got a Lou Gehrig game worn jersey. We got the Best Mantle jersey. We've got Jackie Robinson, which broke a record last night, and it's this everything just kind of came together at once for this auction, which is going to set a lot of records. So we're all excited.
A little peek behind the curtain. Usually in the auction industry, you get the best items at the very end of the consignment process, right before you're preparing the catalog. But we got the Ruth jersey months before, so we were able to use that to recruit all these other legendary pieces. Anyone who saw it at any of the shows in the previews saw that it is a very extensive auction, as Tony said, with some incredible items that usually would be the top piece. Joe Jackson's bat, 52 Topps mantle in an 8, T206 Ty Cobb in a mint 9. So really remarkable. And session 1 closed last night, and we saw a lot of records fall, some incredible results, and we're going to keep you up to date on what's happening with those as well. Tony, guess what? We have a special guest.
The professor is in. Is he in? Is he joining us? The professor is.
All right,
here we go. We're going to learn some things, Mike.
The professor, the most illustrious man, most well-loved individual in the industry. I'm required contractually to say that every time Joe comes on camera. He's very strict about that. Joe, thank you very much for joining us. How are you feeling tonight?
I'm both tired because I would not go to sleep until the Hank Aaron jersey ended last night, which is about 4 a.m, our time. So I'm a little tired, but drank some coffee. But really excited to be here. I almost can't believe that we're here. It's been a long time, a lot. By the way, a thank you goes out to not only the consigners and the bidders and all the activity, but also our team. I mean, so many members of our team that the public doesn't get a chance to interact with and may not be familiar with their names or faces. So many people put in a huge effort to, send these awesome items across, the country and promote it and market it. So, I mean, it's really great to just be here tonight. It's all coming together.
Great point. Our shipping department, our security team, our marketing team, who has worked overtime many, many days. And of course, we have the best operations team in the business who handles all of these remarkable relics and ensures their safety as we went from location to location, and everything arrived back here in Dallas and it's ready to find new homes. We've got an hour and 20 minutes until extended bidding begins for session 2 tonight. So this is when things start to get a little more activity. I can see Tony getting excited over there. So, gentlemen, I've prattled on enough. Let's get into it. Joe, what do you want to talk about? What item could it be to lead off the show?
Well, I think we have to spend at least a little bit of time talking about the called shot jersey.
Oh,
I mean,
great choice.
Yeah, right. We've said all there is to say, over the last, few months through, again, a lot of our efforts through marketing and videos and talking to customers and the great catalogers with the write-up. I mean, but, if there were a couple of points, and I'll try to keep it brief because we have said so much about this over the past few months. The one point about the jersey I'd like to say, and I'll make another point in a second, but I thought to myself, as the months, went on, because this goes back to the spring, as you mentioned, Mike, if I could wish a Babe Ruth item into existence, let's say we didn't know this existed, and we could have our pick, anything from his career, I think this would be the piece that I would want. And here's why. I mean, some people may choose, they might want a rookie jersey when he was with the Red Sox. Some people might say, how about a bat from his 60 home run 1927 season? He accomplished so much in his career, but if there was one item that encapsulated who Ruth was, both as a player and a larger than life, almost fairy tale like character, it's this jersey. And I think that's what makes this so surreal in a way, and so exciting. But that, I think, again, as I kind of went through his entire career, what would it be? This encapsulates both the great player and athlete he was on the field, and also the fact that he was bigger than baseball. He was bigger than sports. He was this larger than life character. And if there was someone that could do this, of course it's Babe Ruth, right? Like, he's the guy that people would believe could call his shot because it's Babe Ruth. It's the stars align in such a way. It really is remarkable. So to me, it's like, I don't think it gets better than this. And in addition, this was really his last major moment in the sun. Last World Championship. It was the last time that he was the man. Like, he was unquestionably the heart of that lineup and the heart of that team. From this point forward, while he was still productive in 1933, and of course finished his career in 34 with the Yankees, and then moved on to that short stint with Boston, with the Boston Braves, this was really kind of that last real shining moment for him. So I just feel like this is really the pinnacle of who he was. So to me, again, that's what makes it so special beyond all the technical attributes and everything, of course, we've been saying for months. And then the other quick point I wanted to make is, every so often in the industry and the hobby and in the auction platform in the business, we come to a point where something like this comes available, something super special. And it's hard to gauge, what is this worth? What should someone pay for it? And the one thing that I'm reminded of constantly, whether it's a huge item that someone else has purchased at auction, or even reflecting on my own collecting experience, there has never been a point in my life where I have regretted paying up at the time for a really special item. And I think if you talk to collectors that have had great experience, been collecting for 1 or 2 or 3 decades or more, I think they would say the same thing. So to me, whoever comes away with this jersey, I would feel very confident the next time it sells, it goes for more.
Yeah, and one thing that's helped it is the advances in technology and photo matching that's really given it that extra oomph. And those things are only going to continue. So, who knows if it could be matched to further games in the future. You're right. I mean, the possibilities are truly endless when you get a top item. It's a no-brainer, essentially, for this one. I've been talking to a lot of people over the last many weeks about is there a better item? Could there be a better item? And people haven't been able to come up with one. So very honored and humbled to have spent so much time in its shadow, as I am doing one last time.
Literally, right?
Hang with the babe one more time.
Yeah, and again, if you look back, sort of in the public market, in the auction arena, I mean, we had that experience. Look at the 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle that we sold for $12.6 million a couple of summers ago. What people forget about that is they see that number, right? It's like, wow, it was an all-time record for a card at the auction platform. But when the consignor bought it ungraded in, I think it was 1991.
That's correct.
$50,000 at that time was a shocking figure. So the point I'm making here is that it often takes a barrier being broken by a collector, by a bidder, for it to reach another level. And we saw that super collector Marshall Fogel in the late 1990s or the mid 1990s when he bought his 52 Mantle for a whopping $121,000 in a PSA 10. And he was, people forget this, but like, I was around, I know you guys were around. He was openly mocked for paying that much for that card. Well, who's laughing now?
Yeah.
I mean, so
now he can openly mock whoever he wants.
And that's right. I mean, and you can go back through all of auction history and you see moments like that where something spectacular comes to market, and rarely does that bidder regret buying something special and stepping up and paying, what some people like to say is tomorrow's price for a great item today. And I know that, again, just personal experience, I have never regretted it. Not one time in my life. Now, of course, I wish I could afford an 8-figure called shot jersey, same. But it's all context. Whatever it is, whether that item is $2,000 or $50 million, whatever it is, based on the context, when you step up for something special, you almost never regret it. I know I never have. So it's there aren't that many moments like this where it's this groundbreaking, spectacular type item. But that's something that I think is worth reminding people of, is that think back through history, look at all the auctions. I mean, and you'll find numerous examples of this where at the time people thought, the collectors and bidders were crazy. And then later on, they're the ones who are laughing.
Absolutely. A great point. And, the really incredible thing about this auction is there is so many remarkable gamers. It's really a high point, high watermark for the industry as such. So let's dig into a few others. And Joe, I knew you would be talking about this next one when I saw it come into the office.
Yeah, big shocker, right? Yeah, shocker. So yeah, and by the way, as you mentioned earlier, we had such a robust session one with some spectacular shirts. So, we have a few more, including the called shot jersey. So the next one is the 1968 Johnny Bench rookie jersey. This is, I mean, in the realm of Johnny Bench jerseys, this is either the finest and the most important, or in the top two that exist. I mean, one key point is a lot of those guys that came up during the mid to late 1960s, pretty soon, come 1972, most teams had transitioned from flannels to knits. And so that's what, in part, what makes some of the earlier jerseys for players like that, like Bench, he only wore a few flannels, until they changed over to knits. And there is a special sort of feeling, amongst collectors about flannels. They tend to sell for a premium because they're just so beautiful. They're works of art, as we saw it look like last night with the flannels that we sold. But here's Johnny Bench in 1968. He's Rookie of the Year as a catcher. He wins his first of 10 consecutive Gold Gloves from 1968 to 1977. Of course, he would go on to win 2 regular season MVPs in 1970 and 1972, 2 World Series back-to-back in 75, which is one of the most memorable World Series of all time against the Red Sox, and then again against the Yankees, which wasn't really all that memorable other than the fact that Johnny Bench hit like 600 during the series or whatever it was, and they swept the Yankees. It wasn't a very competitive series, but this is the start of it all. This is the first year. Now he did have a sort of a cup of coffee earlier in 1967, but this was his official rookie year, where he won Rookie of the Year in the National League. So it's a spectacular jersey in outstanding condition, and it's the beginning of the greatest catcher who ever lived.
And you got to love those bookends. And any gamer for a catcher is really special because they put in work in that. They weren't just standing at first base.
That's right. And this one has really strong wear on it. You could actually see if you see it in person, you could see some of the wear along the shoulders from the straps of the chest protector that are kind of coming over the top of the shoulder, and sometimes you could also see that kind of down kind of by the waist area in person. But it's just an absolutely beautiful jersey. It's already I think it's already up to, what is it, about 130?
130, I think
130.
it was.
Yeah, I mean wow. This is currently, I believe that is a record already for a Johnny Bench uniform, but we have a long way to go here getting into extended bid. But just a terrific piece. And you guys know, no matter what it is, a card, a jersey, a bat, a photo, a ticket, the rookie version of whatever that category is always garners a premium, and it's no different here.
Absolutely. The other aspect in the auction is we have some truly legendary game-used bats, and quite a few of them spanning all eras. So which one caught your eye, Joe?
Yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit about the 1938-39 Jimmy Fox gamer. And by the way, I've been here at Heritage for a couple of years now, and there's never been an auction where I feel like I have to limit so much of what we're talking about. There's so much incredible material in the auction, but you can't talk about everything or we'd be here till next week. So,
and I'm fine with that.
We got all night. We can stay here all night.
This Jimmy Fox gamer, there's a couple of points I'd like to make about it. First of all, it was used during a very nice period for Fox. So 38. He was MVP for, I believe, the second time, if I recall correctly. And in 39, he won the batting title. So very productive. He was with the Red Sox at this point. He had moved on from the Philadelphia Athletics to the Red Sox and was still a beast, if you will, in the game, at the kind of the peak of his powers. Thanks. And the bat itself has really interesting characteristics. So along the hitting zone, which I don't believe you can see online, but on the left barrel where Fox would make contact because he was a label up hitter, the barrel is pretty heavily scored. And there are a few examples out in the market today that are known that have that same pattern. And so that's something that you don't see on every Fox bat, but it is something that has been absolutely documented with Fox. Something that he would do on occasion. It just adds a little bit more character to the bat. And when you see it in person, you could actually run your fingers across it. You close your eyes and you can feel sort of that roughness from kind of usually it's like some sort of pocket knife or something that they would use. And they would sort of carve back and forth along the surface of the wood, giving it kind of a rough texture. So that's one of the really interesting features about the bat. And also the fact that it is signed in such a great spot on the bat. In terms of its presentation and its eye appeal, I mean, that's where you'd want it to be signed if you could choose to have it signed. There is at least one other Jimmy Fox signed gamer that exists. That one is signed more, I believe, on the back of the barrel. But in terms of presentation, it's so nice to have that signature on the sweet spot on the bat.
Yeah, and we've seen a few bats where they try to sign away from that, but when you're, as someone who has to set up our displays, it's really nice when it's in that spot right there, so you can see it all together. That adds some eye appeal to it, certainly. Yeah,
and Fox, he doesn't. I don't believe he gets the credit he's due. If you look at his career, he was in essence a right-handed Lou Gehrig. If you could look at their numbers, and they're almost interchangeable. Everything from batting average to his power numbers, slugging, RBI. He was an incredible player during that period. It was really Ruth, Gehrig, and Fox as the three premier sluggers in the league for a couple of decades. And so when Ruth had left the game, then it became Gehrig and Fox, and then when Gehrig left, it was Fox. I mean, he was the guy. So just a tremendous bat. And I would say of the known Fox bats that are out there, this is certainly in the top handful. It is graded a 10, so it doesn't get any higher than that in terms of its technical grade. But with all the attributes, the character of the bat, the autograph, there's some provenance that comes with it, it would certainly rank in the top handful. So if you're looking for an elite Fox gamer, which are tough to begin with anyway, just finding them, I mean, this is your chance.
Is he the hardest from the 500 home run, or is it him and Ott are the two toughest to find bats from?
Yeah, Fox and Ott are the two toughest ones. I would say Fox. You could argue that he might be slightly more difficult than Ott, but they're both really challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't see his bats very often at all, and we seem to see everything. So this one, when it came in, definitely caught the eyes of the department, which is tough to do at times.
Yeah.
One thing we talked about not long ago, Joe, was, in this boom of the industry, one segment of it that hadn't really had some top level items come out was autographs. And this auction, again, is an exception to that. There's some really outstanding autographs across the board, but especially for Ruth. And boy, this next one is just a stunner.
Yeah, this single sign Babe Ruth baseball from the latter part of his life. I mean, look, from a technical grading perspective, it already rates really high. It has an 8, grade, an 8 overall grade. But there's more to it than just the technical grade. There's aesthetics, and we're going to talk about that, I think, throughout the show today with some other items later in the program. But it's not only technically exquisite in terms of its condition. Ruth hit it, right on the sweet spot. What I mean by that is that sometimes what you'll see is Ruth, it might be a little to the left, a little to the right. Sometimes he'll hit the seams where the second B will come up and hit the top of the seam. Sometimes that E will dip down and hit the bottom seam. This one it could not be more perfectly placed. And I think because of that extra aesthetic, that extra level of eye appeal, that's why you're seeing so much early interest. It's already well outperformed the estimate that was initially placed on the ball. But it's because of that extra level of eye appeal. So again, the technical grade is super important. You'll never get me to say otherwise, but there are other things that affect value beyond the grade. And here's an example where I would say you could put this up against a few of the Ruth balls that have technically graded higher, and I don't think they have better overall presentation than this one has. It's just a spectacular ball that you could sit across the room and you could see that signature. It almost glows when you look at it. So just a terrific single sign ball. And when it comes to Ruth, look, he is the ultimate when it comes to that medium, the single sign ball. What does everyone want? They want a Babe Ruth example. This is about as nice as it gets.
This is one that through all these tours and previews and shows that I had a lot of people ask, is this the nicest Babe Ruth signed ball that exists? Because whether you're in the industry or outside of it, when you look at it, it's just hard to imagine there's a finer one out there. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And there are some. We actually sold the finest example years ago. But again, there aren't many that combine both the quality and aesthetics of the signature and placement of the signature with the condition of the ball. I think that's a key point. Oftentimes what you'll see is a very strong signature on a relatively dingy ball. So you don't get that contrast here. You get that wonderful contrast between that great signature and that light kind of like cream color, kind of off-white uniform color throughout the ball. So the ball is basically just as nice as the signature.
And a Ruth signed ball is essentially the cornerstone of our industry, you could say. And if you are looking for one, this is the auction. There is some multiple examples, some very high quality ones, including an early career, 1919 to 24 with the quotes around the Babe. There's a really nice Ruth and Gehrig signed ball and multiple balls with Ruth's signature on it. So if you are looking to upgrade or have never owned one, tonight and tomorrow is the night.
Yeah, no, it's again, these opportunities don't come around all that often to have something, again, this uniformly beautiful.
And guys, we got cards in the auction too. We haven't even talked about
We've got
those yet.
everything in this auction.
And I'm glad you chose this one next, Joe, because as you said with the bat, hugely underrated player. So we're going to give him some love tonight right at the top of the show.
Yeah, look, again, here we go with Fox. You know, the 1934 Goudey set, you know, in my opinion, it doesn't get the love it deserves. Look, 1933 Goudey may be my favorite set of all time. I mean, it's chock full of Hall of Famers. It is just, and the artwork is beautiful. It's super colorful. But there are some people that actually like the look of the 34 cards even better than 33. The problem, of course, as experienced collectors know, is that in 34, there was no Ruth. And it being kind of that anchor with the 4 cards in the 33 set, that went to Gehrig in 34. But the number 1 card in the set is this one of Jimmy Fox, and it is a beauty. So it's the same basic Conlon shot. You know, it's the Conlon image that was used to create this artwork that you see in 33. But I would argue that this Fox card is actually better looking visually than his either one of his 33 cards, which is number 29 and I believe number 154 in the 33 Goudey set. So being the first card in the set and just that combination of that blue, green, and then the yellow background, it makes the card pop, I think, even more so than his 33 cards. And again, being the number 1 card in the set makes it extra special, because for people that collected and kind of kept their cards in order, it would take the brunt of the damage. So finding high grade and high quality examples can be really challenging. So just a spectacular card of Fox at the height of his powers. He had just come off within the last year or so before that, winning an MVP, a Triple Crown. I mean, it's just, it's the right era for him as well. So just an outstanding example of this card.
And we've had that one on display as well, and that yellow and the green there where they meet, those two colors really pop on that one.
Yeah, it's just a terrific card. And again, if you're collecting the set, or you're just looking for a high grade example of a Fox card from the era, again, the 33 set may be more popular. This is my favorite Fox card from his career, is his 34 Goudey.
Very interested to see where that one ends up tonight. And glad Fox is getting so many shout outs tonight.
Getting a lot of love.
Got to give him some love, yeah.
So in all these previews and shows we did, this next card was on display, and many people came to see it that were not involved in the industry but did collect as kids, and they wanted to know, why is this one so very valuable?
Yeah. Look, this is my era growing up. So I remember opening packs of 1980 Topps cards, and look, there's the Ricky Henderson rookie card, and then there's basically the rest of the set. There's in terms of the distance between the importance and the value of this card versus virtually every other card in the set. I don't know if there's a greater gap. Perhaps the Ozzie Smith, that's another one comes to mind, a year prior. But the one thing that's very interesting about this card is that, look, it's 1980 Topps. There's plenty of unopened out there, vending, wax. I mean, so people wonder why is this so valuable? Like you said, it's tough it's actually tough to get in PSA 10. So they've graded thousands and thousands of this card, but there aren't that many that have reached the 10 grade. So it's one of those surprisingly challenging cards from that era. And then it has been interesting as far as the player. I really feel like the last few years, Ricky Henderson is like gaining in popularity and appreciation for what he did. And I think as the game changes, and it goes through all sorts of changes, and although this year guys seem to be running more, it is just so hard to believe that anyone is ever going to touch his stolen base career mark. It's one of those marks, and there are many in baseball, again, as the game changes, but this is one of them that you just have a hard time believing anyone is ever going to approach, because some guys start running early in their careers, and then as soon as they get hurt one time, then the organization says, no, we're not going to have you run. I remember with Mike Trout, when Mike Trout first came into the league, he was extremely quick. but they didn't want, and now obviously he's having problems with his health, but they slowed him down. They said, no, we don't want you to get hurt. And so I think, again, the game changes, and Henderson being the greatest leadoff man of all time, and the numbers that he put up. I mean, he could hit for power, MVP in 1990, and just wreaked havoc on the bases. I just think the appreciation for what he means to the game and his place in history has grown in the last few years. I mean, I think we see that with game worn and game used and other things, Henderson. But look, a rookie card in PSA 10 is certainly a special piece, especially from that era.
And I've got the stats on that. PSA has graded over 37,000 of this card. 37,000. There are 25 10s. That is an absurd ratio.
Is it because of the centering? Is that the pitfall for that card, or is it just why is it so difficult? Is there one thing?
It's in part, but what you also see is sometimes there is like a heavy print in the background that you see on this card that can really detract from the eye appeal. It's kind of like that, with certain issues, especially where you see that kind of dark area of the dugout kind of behind Henderson. Sometimes you'll just get a lot of print snow. Some people refer to it as print snow, fish eyes, that sort of thing, that really sort of affect the eye appeal of the card. But when you can find it with very, very minimal print, and it has the centering and the corners, then you have a shot at kind of that 9-10 range. But it's hard to find one that has all of those attributes. That's the issue. It's sort of a combination of things, but print is something that really stands out on the card.
Interesting.
Love it. All right, and now we're finally going to get to Lou Gehrig. He's been mentioned a few times, and got him sitting right over here behind me. His gamer is available tonight as well, but really unique card you chose here. One I bet a lot of collectors do not have in their collection.
Yeah, I mean, you know how I like to do it on the show. I mean, there's so many high value and high profile mainstream things, but we've also got some really interesting items that are under 20,000, under 10,000, and this is one of them. What I think makes this card interesting, besides the fact that it's a very high grade for this issue, I believe there's only I think it's one higher or a few higher, something like that, but it's about as nice.
Two higher
for this card. But that image, you probably recognize it. We were just talking about Goudey's, and we're talking about Conlon. That is the same Conlon shot that was used to make his 1933 Goudey cards. And so I think it's, you see this with other pre-war cards. The one that always comes to mind is Honus Wagner with that famous Carl Horner portrait, which was used for different cards, not just the T206 Honus Wagner. This is an opportunity for someone to get a high-grade Lou Gehrig from the prime of his career at a fraction of what a Goudey would cost, but you still get that connection to perhaps his most popular baseball card image on this Cashin's Publications card. So it's just sort of an interesting option for someone who would love a beautiful Lou Gehrig card in their collection. They can't quite maybe step up on a 33 or even a 34 Goudey from the period, but you still get, again, with the popularity of vintage photos increasing year over year, and Conlon becoming a more well-recognized name with the mainstream collectors, not just photo collectors. I really like that connection here. So it's just, I think it's an interesting opportunity for the price.
And, not many cards in that era have the photos. So many have the depiction. And when they do have the photos, it isn't always such a sharp image, but that one is razor sharp.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, and I agree with you. Having the actual image, not like an artwork or an artist depiction, makes it different. And so, considering the price, it's a 7, and it's sitting at $5,000. It doesn't, on some level, it almost doesn't make sense. It's like, wait a minute, Lou Gehrig from 1929, from it, again, the heart of his career in high grade. It offers an interesting opportunity. The set itself isn't a widely collected set, but there are stars in there, and Gehrig is obviously one of the key stars from the set. So just an interesting opportunity for someone who is looking for something maybe in that, $5,000 to $15,000 range.
And I'm glad you chose this next one, because I had one fan say we don't talk enough about hockey cards. So we put it right at the top so we could get out in front of it.
Yeah, I tell you what, this card, when you really kind of zoom in on it, there are nines and then there are nines. This card is just absolutely beautiful. It is centered. The colors just jump off the card. That blue, kind of that blue, aqua blue background with the yellow and the red on his jersey. It's such a beautiful example of this card. And sometimes when you're looking at high grade cards, it's easy to become super critical. You can hyper focus on maybe the centering, the print, a corner here or there. This card is just it. If there's such a thing as it, when I say problem free, of course, I don't mean literally, but it's one of those cards you look at it, and as soon as you look at it, it's so pleasing to the eye that it makes you want to buy it. It makes you want to own it. And again, Esposito, I believe he won Stanley Cups in 70 and 72 with Boston, and was, until guys like Wayne Gretzky came along, held a lot of records for scoring and goals. And he, at his time, I mean, he was really a revolutionary player. And so just an outstanding high grade copy of his rookie card. And again, one of those cards that it's not just technically graded high, it's a beautiful design. The card just really lends itself to eye appeal because of that combination of colors and the fact that it's so well centered.
And it's got that 52 Topps Mantle background color right there. Yeah. That only helps.
Right.
All right. We've gone too long without talking about Babe Ruth. So let's get right back into him. I feel like he's staring me down over here.
We'll go through these quick. So we've been talking about Goudeys and Babe Ruth. So this is one, I mean, personally, you got the 4 different Goudey Ruths in the set. Of course, you got 53, 144, 149, which is the red background, and 181, the green Ruth. I've always loved, this has always been my favorite Ruth card of the 4. I know some people like the full body shot better, but I just love that striking red background with the kind of close up of the Conlon image of him swinging the bat. And this card, this particular example, it's obviously graded very high at PSA 8, but it's a really well-centered 8 on top of that. And I think that with Goudeys, because they sometimes can be shifted, left, right, up, down, the centering it's sort of sensitive on the issue. To have an exceptionally well-centered copy of this card with that striking red background and the corners and everything else to go with it, it just makes the card pop in a way that others don't. And so this is about as nice as you can get. There are no 9s of this card. I believe there are 2 8.5s, if I recall correctly, in the pop report. But this is about as nice as you can get for this issue. And of course, personal opinion, I would argue it's the most striking of the 4 poses.
I mean, Ruth was larger than life, so that red background just exploding at you just suits his mystique.
Yeah, it's that bold, right? He was bold, and he just like the card. It really connects. It reminds me of like the 1915 Cracker Jack Ty Cobb against that red back. Just something about that red background that just really makes the image pop in front of it. You can see the pinstripes. It's just a great shot. And again, the set is one of the most widely collected vintage baseball sets of all time. And
is the 8 the only version of this card we have in the auction this weekend?
No, we do not. We also have one, again, there goes the light. Hopefully you can still see me. I'm glowing in the dark here, but I'll keep going. We have a PSA 2.
Special effects.
These darn timers, I'm telling you, I'll get that back on in a second. So we have a PSA 2 as well in the auction. As we were talking about, look, not everyone can afford a multi-6-figure Babe Ruth Goudey card. But what I wanted to point out about this one is take a look at the eye appeal on this card for a 2. I mean, it's already, overestimate. And I think, the collectors see exactly what I'm going to talk about. Look, technically it does have a wrinkle that goes through the card. You can see it kind of gradually go from left to right across the card. But what's very interesting about that is that it doesn't break the paper in the way that you see most, if you see T206s or Goudeys, where it's a heavier crease and the paper breaks and you get kind of that white going through the crease. Completely changes the eye appeal of the card. This card, yes, technically it is graded correctly, but from an eye appeal standpoint, the eye appeal far exceeds the technical grade. And I think that's why we're seeing so much early interest in this card. It really is striking for the grade. So it offers, again, value in the grade and an opportunity for someone who, look, most of us can't afford a Babe Ruth card that costs as much as some people's homes. So this is a great opportunity to find eye appeal in the grade.
Yeah, beautiful example. And you can barely tell the crease. I was looking at that one earlier today when you said over the list. Another demographic that we have a lot of premium examples of is photography in this auction. That genre of the hobby has been very high of late and bringing in some new participants. And we've got some prime photos offering going up this weekend. And there you go.
Yeah, no, in this one, I picked this one, would I describe it as a prime photo from the perspective? It's not even a type 1. And right now, as this vintage photo market develops, look, make no mistake about it, the most desirable photos are type 1 photos. There's no doubt about it. Let's make no mistake. However, as the market develops, just like we were looking at the 2 versus the 8, this is a type 2 it's the image that was used for his number 181 1933 Goudey card. Some people call it the Green Ruth. Look at the condition and the clarity of this card, of this photo. If this were a type 1 photo, it would be worth well into six figures.
Oh, yeah.
It's sitting at, what is it, sitting at $6,000 or $7,000?
Right.
To me, this is an opportunity for, again, the market is just starting to develop, but with iconic images like this, especially ones that connect to iconic cards, I feel like this is, again, we're early stages of this market. And, for someone who's, I say more on a budget than again, if this were a $250,000 photo or something like that, if it were a type 1, it's an opportunity because the photo is really in outstanding condition, full bordered. It presents beautifully. There's no distracting surface issues. It's just an outstanding photo of the image that was used to make one of his most popular cards, and it's under $10,000. So sometimes you go through an auction like this where we're just there, we have so many high-end items, so many high-value items. And then you see there are these little opportunities here and there with things that aren't, $100,000, $500,000, $1 million. This was one that just stuck out to me as a potential opportunity for the collector.
And what I love about these photos that were used to make cards, specifically the ones where the card is actually a depiction or artwork, is then you can see all the details that aren't included in the card. The background here, there's great detail on Ruth's face. Him running his finger over the bat. You can pick up all these small things that don't come through in the artwork.
Oh yeah, I did the same thing. I zoomed in on this piece and look at how clear that image is. I mean, it's remarkable for that, especially for that time. The clarity is superb on it. So for someone again that can't afford or can't play at that level on a type 1, what a wonderful alternative. And something that looks great. This is not a situation where you're buying a lower grade card and there's something about it condition wise that may distract the eye. The condition here is superb. It's absolutely outstanding. It's just that it's a type 2, which means for those who are kind of new to the photo market, all that means is that type 1s mean that they were the opinion is that they were generated from the original negative approximately within 2 years of it being taken. All a type 2 means is that it's more than that. We don't know. In this case, I think they were estimating it may have come out in the 50s, about 20 years later. It's still a vintage collectible. It's just not from that specific moment or period of time.
Exactly. What I love about that photo is you can see the hairs on his arm if you zoom in on his hand there, which is just an insane detail for a photograph that's almost 100 years old.
It is as a matter of fact, if for those who are familiar with the famous Conlon shot of him swinging, okay, that was used for his other 3 Goudey Ruth cards, that shot that was taken by Conlon, which this is not, that shot that was used for the 3 cards, you could argue from this standpoint, the standpoint that you're describing, that this photo is actually superior to that photo. It's just that's the classic Ruth follow through and he's finishing. But in terms of just clarity, I don't think there's any question. This is a superior image of Ruth versus the famous Conlon image.
And this is kind of like those are great action shots or the great pose, but this is almost like an Ansel Adams type piece of art that, it really has the light, the dark, the shadows. You can see the wear on his face. I bet he was out late the night before this photo was taken, and you can see the bags under his eyes. I mean, it really is a beautiful image.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I believe, if I recall correctly, this image was actually taken in 32, so the year of the called shot. Of course, he's wearing his pinstripes there, but just a really neat image, and just, I think, an interesting opportunity for someone who wants to put their toe in the water with vintage photography.
And speaking of the called shot in 1932, another genre of the hobby that's really garnering some new followers and participants is tickets. And we've seen some great prices and some really great examples come to the auction block. And this auction would not be complete without this next example.
Yeah, I chose this ticket specifically, and I think we're, again, I always seem to come up with a strange theme, but my theme here is eye appeal. This is a situation when you look at this ticket on its face, you're thinking, gee, it's a 4. How could it only be a 4? Well, when you look at the back of the ticket, there is a small stain on the reverse, but which is, in the upper border right there on the back. But from a presentation standpoint on the front, my guess is that, this ticket, it presents more like an X-Mint 6, somewhere in that range. So you're getting more bang for the buck from an eye appeal standpoint, because look, let's face it, just like cards, right? Most people focus on the front. Most people focus on the face of the card, the face of a ticket, the face of a photo, whatever it is. That's what most people are looking at. And this ticket is beautiful on the front. And certainly, again, I think the initial impression that people have is, how is it only a 4? It's because of the defect on the back. But on the front, I mean, look how vibrant those red and green colors are on the front of that ticket. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. The ticket is, obviously it's full. All you have is like basically minor corner wear and a little edge wear here and there, but it really is a stunning ticket to look at. So again, this is just an opportunity for someone who really values eye appeal versus the technical side of grading, where the defect doesn't affect the presentation of the card.
Yeah, and tickets are great items to display. They really are pieces of history, and you can follow the artwork and the styles of the times from the ticket. And if you're displaying it, you're only displaying the front. So a great one to have the defect on the back.
Exactly. So obviously, it's the right auction for this, but there aren't many that are full, and there certainly aren't many that are full that look like this one. It's one of the nicer examples that you'll see.
I'll say, while we're talking about tickets, while we were displaying this in New York, father and his 8-year-old came in, and we were showing him this ticket, and he wasn't very clear on what the tickets were for. And his dad had to say, remember when we went to the game last night and I had the barcode on my phone? That was my ticket. So right. Something that truly is becoming a relic to the new generation. He didn't realize that you had to have a paper ticket beforehand to get into a game.
Yeah. Which by the way, makes it makes ticket collecting, in terms of nostalgia and history, someday, there are still some events that generate, paper tickets, but pretty soon that'll be completely gone, and it'll be just a distant memory, but that's part of what makes them cool, in my view.
I agree 100%. Joe, incredible as always, just expounding and full of knowledge. Thank you for sharing. In fact, you've got so much knowledge, we're going to bring you back a little bit later to talk about some more items. So why don't you take a break, have a beverage, and we'll see you in just a little bit.
I'm going to go work on the lights.
He's gonna fix the lights.
He wears a lot of hats. So
That's right.
We're off to a good start. Tony, can you take a look at the bid board? Let's get a few hits off of there.
Yeah, right now the signed Jordan PSA 9 Auto 10 sticker, $67,500. The Ricky Henderson, $97,500 just got hit. Let's see. The Shaquille O'Neal LSU jersey, one of my favorite items in this auction, $130,000, which has gone up almost $50,000 in the last probably hour and a half. So a lot of action, people getting their initial bids in now, I think, too. A lot of people wait till the end. So
we've got about 35 minutes till extended bidding begins and the real fun starts. So we're going to take a quick break and then come back, and Tony and I are going to talk about some more of our favorite items in the auction. We'll be right back.
Hello, this is Joe Orlando, Executive Vice President at Heritage Sports. Since the turn of the 21st century, the sports collectibles hobby has continued to evolve and mature. Vast improvements have been made in a host of areas, from product access to essential information to third-party authentication and grading. One advancement that has changed the hobby forever has been the advent of photo matching, the process of matching key features or attributes of an object to one found in a verifiable image. This process has not only enhanced buyer confidence, but it has also helped place relics such as bats, gloves, helmets, and jerseys at a specific moment in time. What is arguably one of the most iconic moments in sports history is the called shot.
I said, I'm going to hit the next pitch ball right past the flagpole.
And Heritage Auctions is proud to offer the very jersey Babe Ruth was wearing on that magical day. Let's take a deeper look at what the vetting process looks like on such a historic item. First, before any attempt at photo matching takes place, the underlying authentication of the jersey itself needs to be confirmed because it establishes the foundation. This is where top third-party experts review and opine on everything from its vintage to its condition to its originality. Dave Grobe of SGC, the industry's leading vintage uniform expert, has given this Babe Ruth jersey a grade of superior, his highest possible rating. After and only after that baseline approval takes place, and we know the Babe Ruth jersey is authentic, does photo matching potentially come into play. While photo matching does become more challenging as you travel back in time, due to the quantity and quality of the images available, sometimes the stars align, and that is exactly what happened here. Before you start the process, context about the way jerseys were made and exclusion play key roles. Unlike today, where jerseys are made in much higher volumes and changed out frequently, that was not the case in the distant past. Very few jerseys were made, issued to, and used by the players. In fact, it was not uncommon for jerseys to be carried over from one season to another, like this 1952 Mickey Mantle jersey, which was worn and photo matched to the 1953 World Series, even though it was initially issued in 1952. In addition, part of the photo matching process is exclusion, or the process of elimination. This is one area where top photo matching services really showcase their value, as they sift through countless images that date to anywhere near the period. The New York seen across the chest was hand-sewn, which means no two Ruth jerseys are exactly alike. As a result, the positioning of the letters in relation to the buttons on the jersey is critical. To illustrate the point, here is a close-up of Ruth wearing a road jersey just 1 year earlier in 1931. As an example, you can see the Y in York was sewn further to the left and closer to the button immediately above it than the Y on the called shot jersey. While subtle, the alignment of the Y and the remaining letters on the offered jersey and the one Ruth is wearing on the day of the called shot in 1932 are positioned differently than the one from 1931. The jersey featured at Heritage and the one Ruth is wearing that day are, however, in sync. You can never rely solely on one specific detail to reach a conclusive photo match. A conclusive match requires a combination of matching details combined with a lack of any non-matching details that are exclusionary. Furthermore, there are other characteristics in lettering and discolorations visible on the jersey that assist in the process. One small yet distinct stain on the shirt, under the "New" in New York on the face of the jersey, is particularly important. This also aligns perfectly between the jersey today and this Game 3 image of Babe Ruth. While the jersey has been cleaned during the last century and since Ruth last wore it, causing the shirt to lose some of its identifying markers, this key point of reference remains. Thankfully, and in a comical twist, the stubbornness of that stain helped preserve history for collectors and sports fans across the globe. The bidding for this spectacular jersey and auction is live, and it ends during a 3-day span from August 23rd through the 25th. Remember to get your qualifying bids in now so you can participate in the extended bidding period each night. Until next time, happy heritage hunting.
One more lesson from Joe Orlando there on the magic of photo matching. So we're going to keep rolling. We've got about 30 minutes till extended bidding begins on session 2, which happens at 10 p.m. Central Time. And one thing we've been talking about a lot is autographed vintage cards. And we've got a huge sampling of them closing tonight and tomorrow night. This next one is my favorite. This is a 1907 seamless steel tubes. Tony, you got a lot of seamless steel tubes cards in your collection?
Absolutely. I've got a hoard of them just sitting in my house.
So this is a rare regional release by a auto company. It's a postcard, a rare card in general. But what's fascinating about this one is that Ty Cobb used it as a postcard. He wrote on it and sent it to a teammate. So great content on here as well. This was written and postmarked right before Game 3 of the 1907 World Series. And Ty Cobb talks about the season he'd had and has World Series content as well. And he addressed it. Just a fantastic piece that combines a rare card, personally used by Cobb, and amazing content.
Yeah, and you don't see a lot of early Cobb autographs. Most of the stuff you see are post-career, 30s, 40s, 50s, and I think he died in the early 60s. So, I mean, you see most of that stuff from his, most of his autographs are later on. So to find something, especially from the World Series, is a really cool piece, and coming from him, no less. So, yeah, that's a really unique item.
Yeah, and up next, I'm a big Satchel Paige fan, and we have a couple Satchel Paige signed cards in the auction. This one's the 53 Topps, which is my favorite Paige card. A nice PSA 8 autograph from the legendary pitcher, and he put it in the perfect spot, most importantly. Didn't write over his own face. He put it right in the negative space next to him, like he's looking at his own autograph, which I really enjoy.
Yeah, that card is so timeless. It really, truly is. And, back then they didn't do autograph shows or anything like that. And that's a really tough one to find signed. You rarely ever see that card signed. It's beautiful unsigned, and to have it autographed, I mean, it is just it's just an amazing, amazing Paige autograph.
Yeah, really popular issue, and one of the more popular cards from it. And speaking of popular issues, this next one is the 1948 Leaf. Just a beautiful issue. Looks like a propaganda poster. This is card number 4, the Stan Musial. And Stan the Man has signed this one. What I like about it is PSA has graded almost 1,300 of these cards. There's only 26 signed. So
it just got hit right now. It's at 7,000. So keep going, pro. I mean,
well, anybody that is a Cardinals fan or collects Musial materials knows he's not a tough autograph. He was a very friendly individual, happy to sign, very fan friendly. But this card, there's only 26 examples signed. So this one wasn't put in front of him very often at all. And one fan's going to get an opportunity to own it tomorrow. This is tomorrow night, closing the Musial 48 Leaf.
And the one thing about that is, the card has always been so valuable that people would tend to get something later on signed, not something of that vintage. So most of the stuff that he signed, it was items, toward the end of his career. So, to have one of those earlier ones is really special.
Yeah, I love that one. Tony, what signed cards have caught your eye?
Yeah, the one that always catches my eye, Clemente signed rookie card. It's such a difficult one to find, and you're getting a lot of guys collecting signed sets now, and this is of course one of the toughest ones to find. It's gone up so much in the last 5-6 years. I remember when this was a $20,000 card. It's almost $100,000 card, and well, this one actually has 100,000 estimate. And it's and you talked about the page where he signed it. This one is signed in the absolute perfect spot as well. And he took his time. He signed it. It's not personalized or anything. And just a really, really neat Clemente signed rookie card, which is a difficult find.
And I love it when they sign right next to their facsimile signature.
Yes,
That takes it
yes,
up a notch for me.
it does. Absolutely.
And, today is 8/24. It's Kobe Day, Tony. So we had to talk about some Kobe items. And I love this one. This is the 2001 Upper Deck Legends, Jordan and Kobe. Jordan was Kobe's idol. He very much modeled his game after him. Two greats here and two incredible on-card autographs from Kobe and MJ with the PSA 8 grade for the cards. We have a spectacular selection of modern cards in this auction, and this one right near the top.
Yeah, I mean, having one from one legend right to the next. I mean, it was Jordan who passed it on to Kobe pretty much, and to have them both on a card like that, yeah, is just amazing.
Yeah, and they had a great relationship as well too. So I know those Kobe and Jordan cards really pack a premium, and this is a great example.
Yeah.
And speaking of Jordan, the 86 Fleer rookie Jordan has gotten so much so much publicity, rightfully so. I sometimes feel like the Jordan sticker is kind of getting left out. So had to bring this one up. This is a signed 86 Fleer Jordan sticker and a 10 autograph from Jordan on this one. There's a lot of Jordan 86 Fleer rookies that have been graded, and there's a lot of stickers that have been graded, but only a handful of these stickers have been signed in PSA slabs, and this is one of the finest right here.
We've seen growth so much in this hobby on high grade cards that are signed, because most of the time when people would get these signed, they would take, a cheaper card. This one here, because of the grade of the card, it really, really moves the radar quite a bit. And again, he signed it in a great spot, but a lot of these had wax stains on the back of them. Centering's kind of an issue on some of the stickers, but the grade of the card and of course the autograph combined, there's not very, very many high grade Jordan ones, and now to get them, he's next to impossible.
Yeah, great example. I'm very interested to see where that one ends up. So earlier, Tony, we talked about how collectors like bookend items. We had a monumental result for the Hank Aaron rookie jersey last night, and we've got the bookend to that closing tonight. Let's hear about it.
Yeah, this one here, it's a beautiful style in itself with the feather design on the shoulders. But this one here is actually photo matched to his last day as a Brave before he was traded to Milwaukee. And this one has been photo matched, which is, of course, the thing that really moves the radar. But yeah, I mean, there's not a ton of great Aaron uniforms out there. We had the rookie jersey, which was rookie and second year. This one here from the end of his career in Atlanta. And it's a beautiful design, beautiful jersey. And we've seen Aaron prices go up considerably in the last few years. I think people are starting to realize just how good he was. And this one, yeah, it's at 110 right now. And I think there's still room for it to even go up further.
Yeah, and so that one's photo match to an exhibition home run derby, Hank Aaron versus Sadahara O, the Japanese home run champion. Yeah. Aaron ended up winning that event that it's photo match to, And then that night he found out he had been traded. So the last Braves jersey he wore, he wore Braves pajamas that night at the hotel, but this is the last time he wore a Braves jersey.
That he wore a Braves uniform. And yeah, I mean, he is probably in their team history, he is the guy. And to have
no
a
question.
photo match jersey from the end of his career there is remarkable.
And if you're the person who won that rookie jersey last night, you got to win this. I mean,
you got to go for two.
This is the companion piece. We had them on display for a month right next to each other. You can do the exact same thing. I'll send you the mannequins. We've got plenty right around right here. All right, let's talk some basketball gamers. We haven't gotten into that yet, and we've got some standouts, including this one. Wow, way to go!
Yeah, I think Wilt is underappreciated. He died back in the late 90s, I think in 99 or 2000s when he passed away. And I think a full generation hasn't seen enough of his highlights. I think he's underappreciated. I think he's undervalued as well. And this one here, I mean, it's from his days in Philadelphia, so the earlier half of his career. And it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous jersey. The ones we're going to be talking about here are just, they're made with so much quality. And what I love about this one in the tail is you've got the Pearson tag, and then you've got the 13 on a swatch. So I mean, it's really a cool piece. And I mean, this is when Wilt was at the height of his powers, I could say. He did go to the Lakers and he was great there, but this is when he was just dominating everybody.
Yes, from his second year, that's the year he became the first player in NBA history to score 3,000 points and have 2,000 rebounds. You know who else has done that, Tony?
Nobody.
That's correct. He averaged 38 points and 27 rebounds that season, which is
27 rebounds. That is insane.
Yeah.
It is unbelievable.
And so much of the photography of Wilt from that era is in black and white. And you can't see how dynamic the color scheme was for these jerseys. I mean, it is just a work of art.
Yeah, it is. They took such good care when they made these things. It's not like a screened on, it's tackle twill, it's Doreen, it's cheesecloth. I mean, there are just so many things that make these stand out. And it's got the filler. I love that on it. And and great piping too. I mean, it's got great piping around the neck and the shoulder inserts. So I mean, there's not a ton of great Wilts out there, and this has got to be in the top 5 in the hobby.
Oh, fantastic piece. Do we have any gamers from people that were bigger than Wilt physically?
I don't know if anybody was bigger than Wilt, but I guess Shaq. This is my personal favorite item in the auction. I fell in love with Shaq when he was at LSU, and when this one came in, I was thrilled. And then when it photo matched, then I was really thrilled. And this one's seen a pretty good gain. It was I think it was at like 85,000. It's gotten hit a few times now, and it's at 130 right now. You got the American flag on the front. You got the Velcro to kind of keep it tight. And you also have the shorts as well. But the thing is, when you can say photo matched, it's a whole different level. And there's not a lot of great Shaq LSU items out there. There's some sneakers here and there, but this one, once it photo matched, like I said, it really took it to a whole different level. And there's been a lot of action on this jersey.
I love that early 90s LSU logo on the shorts. They need to bring that back.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I remember him wearing this jersey, and great piece.
It's photo matched to a dominant game against Georgia. I believe he had 27 points and 17 rebounds and 5 blocks.
We've got the video of that. We had the video online of that, and I watched that video, and it's unbelievable. He's just blocking everything. It is. Watch the video because it is amazing to watch that video.
That's one of the great things about photo matching, especially on the modern side. So many of those games are available. So you buy this jersey, then you can sit down and watch the game of him in this jersey.
In your jersey.
Dominated.
Yeah.
Next up, I love this gamer. We had a beautiful 1962 Stan Musial jersey that sold last night. That was really incredible. And it had the standard logo with the yellow bat. This one, 1940 Pepper Martin, great nickname, Cardinals jersey, is kind of like the vintage version of an alternate jersey. They changed up the style. You can see the bat is black on this one. Pepper Martin, one of the most aggressive base runners like Ricky Henderson. And he was towards the end of his career in 1940, but this season he batted .316, which was his career high. And any Cardinals uniform is just off the charts as far as aesthetics. They have a great logo, but this one's got the zipper they used for a few seasons, and the black bat, which I don't know why they went away from the yellow, but collectors love that when it's just a one or 2 year style.
Yeah, this is one you almost need to see it because it is so gorgeous with the chenille, the birds on bat, the black bat. The piping also is just gorgeous down that zipper path there, and having his name in there. This is just an absolute stunning jersey, and they've always had some of the nicer jerseys in baseball history. And you're right. I mean, this is they only did it for a few years. But it's in great condition as well. There's no holes or anything like that on it. So
I love how it looks like the Cardinals are checking out the piping too. Like the kind of got their hands cocked and they're really inspecting it. Like, this is fine work.
They are. Yeah, it's a thing of beauty. They really are. And that's another one. Like I said, you got to see it because it just jumps out at you.
And speaking of jumping out at you, this is a defender that would do that to ball carriers quite frequently. This is a Ray Lewis gamer. Tony, I know you love this one. This is from 2012, so it's what we call a box checker. It's photo matched to a game against the Browns, division rival. Boom. It's got the Art Modell Memorial patch right there. Another box check. It was Ray Lewis's last season, so a bookend. And Tony, did they go out on top with the Super Bowl title?
I think they did, didn't they?
They did.
That is correct. Yeah. What I love about that jersey, the Art Modell patch, and he will make it to the Hall of Fame one of these days. He isn't in yet, but I think at some point he'll get in. But also on the neckline with that rubberized material by the NFL shield, it's kind of a cool look to it. Yeah, I mean, football jerseys, I know we always say, sometimes they don't really have a lot of sexiness to them, but this one here, there's a lot of eye appeal on this one, and I love that shield. I love where that rubberized material is by the neckline, and of course, I mean, those numbers are just gorgeous, and it's photo matched Ray Lewis. So
yeah, great wear on it, and you can really see it on the white on the numbers, that pilling on there. And speaking of football, this auction goes all the way from 1888 to 2023. This one from last year, the most surprising rookie in the NFL last year, Puka Nacua. This is a fantastic example from one of the hottest players right now. Tony, you got him on your fantasy team?
My fantasy draft was today, but I am here this weekend, so I had one of my buddy's sons draft. So.
Oh, proxy. Puka definitely someone that he was kept in every league because he was a rookie, but wow, what a standout season he had.
Yeah, and what I'll tell you about this jersey is these have grown on me. When I first saw some of these, I'm like, the rubber numbers, I wasn't sure I was going to like it, but it actually, there's a lot of cool features on that. And I do like that rubberized numbers on there. I'm more of a tackle twill guy, but it's a really beautiful, beautiful jersey. And those ram horns.
The fading color, how it fades into the yellow.
Yep. And the ram horns, they had to keep that. You've got to keep that. And, of course, it has it. And you got that nice ram in the back.
And this one's photo matched, and Puka confirmed it with the autograph and inscription on the back. 8 receptions, 156 yards. Got the autograph there. Tony, up next. This is probably my favorite. Well, one of them. We've got a lot of great NFL gamers in this auction, but this one
is one of the most historic that I've ever seen. And I think it just got bid on. Wow, look at that. So I think this one here, I mean, from his record-breaking season, this is when he passed O.J. Simpson, Eric Dickerson.
Single season rushing mark.
Yeah, which stands to this day. And back when running backs were, carried the load. And this one here, I mean, it's photo matched up and down. Great use. Got the notched neckline. It's got, I mean, I would put this up against any Dickerson in the hobby just because, I mean, the use is there. It's got the horns around it too,
around
and the
the
photo
numbers.
match and the nice autograph. I mean, running backs, I don't know if you'll see another guy get 2,000 yards anymore. And I mean,
Key point, you never know what's going to happen, but the way the NFL offenses are now, nobody's going to get close to 2,000 yards in a season.
Yeah, and I mean Dickerson. I mean his first 4 or 5 years in the league, rival. I mean he was just head and shoulders above everybody else, and you usually get that kind of combination of size and speed like he had. And Dickerson was, when he retired, I think he was second all time in rushing yards when he retired, and just was next level. And this is from when he was at his absolute best.
Yeah, and he loved this style jersey. In the game it's photo match too, where he set the record. They were playing the Oilers, so two of the all-time jersey styles going head to head in that game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean yeah.
And next, Tony, somebody that I think is a little underrated when people talk about the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
Yeah, he's a guy that, now everybody's Brady this, the GOAT this, and all that. But the guy before, one of the guys before him that I think is kind of undervalued and a little bit underappreciated, Dan Marino, one of the absolute greatest arms in football history. And he just, he went to that Super Bowl his second year, I think it was, and really set the touchdown record and just took everybody by storm. And but what I like about this one, again, it's photo match 1996. You got that aqua, and then you got that orange. I mean, this one here, it's a gorgeous looking jersey. And I think Marino, he doesn't get the love that he probably should get. And what I like about this one too, the sleeve ends, they're open, the open quarterback sleeve ends. And again, when you can say photo match, that's takes it to a whole different level. And toward the end of his career, or toward the back half of his career, but also, I mean, it's a really quality Merino jersey, and to a guy that was just he dominated for so long, he really did. And
He was piling up numbers even in that area of his career.
yeah, he was. And I mean, it's not that teams didn't pass a lot, but I mean, he was just, I think that was it the 84 season. I think it was 84 or 85 when he set the touchdown record. I mean, he blew everybody out of the water. And great career. And I mean, if you ever saw, I think this generation who never got to see him play can't appreciate just how good he was. And he had, I think, the best arm. His arm was as good as anybody's in the history of the game.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Right. This next one, Tony, I think everyone would like to see you wear this style uniform one day.
So this one, and I know I mentioned on the Cardinals. I saw this one. Our ops staff had it, and when I saw this jersey, I'm telling you, it's among the nicest I've ever seen. It's a Doreen top with the satin shorts, but if you look really close in the collar, it's got Koozi's name chain stitched to it. I'm just telling you, as far as all-star jerseys go, this is about as nice as I've ever seen, and those shiny numbers on there too. Now jerseys just don't have the personality like this one does, and it's signed by him and everything. But this is one where the trunks are almost as cool as the jersey.
They got the belt.
The satin, yeah, with the belt in place. I mean, this one here, it's another one you really got to see this to appreciate it.
Yeah, it's an eye-catching one. I know at the National, it was getting a lot of attention, and I think most of that was due to the shiny shorts with the belt.
Yeah,
they should bring that back for the All-Star game next year. This exact same style.
Absolutely, I would love to see that.
All right, Tony, let's talk some more game-used bats because we've got some monsters, and including this one right here, which is already the most valuable game-used bat in the hobby. This is the 1911 Shoeless Joe Jackson game used bat. You almost don't need to say anything else. Just that sentence right there covers it. But you know me, so I'm going to keep talking. There are a few bats that have come out into the hobby from after Shoeless Joe was banished from baseball, when he was playing in exhibitions and barnstorming. This is the only known Joe Jackson gamer from his MLB career. He used it his rookie year in 1911, and in his rookie year, he hit 408. Tony, do you know how many people in Major League Baseball history hit over 400 their rookie year?
There can't be anybody else. There's no
Just
way.
one.
I mean,
Shoeless
to
Joe.
hit 400 is something, but as a rookie, that's unbelievable.
So he came out gunning, and you can see it on this bat. It has incredible usage, great divots, ball marks, grain checking, that beautiful patina, and it is a telephone pole, 35 and a half inches, 42 ounces, Tony, 42. For the past month, we've had this in a display case with other bats, Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Jackie Robinson. And when you look at the barrel of this bat,
It dwarfs
compared
them.
to any other bat, it's twice as big. It's huge. It really drew a lot of eyes at all the shows. In fact, at the New York office is on Park Avenue. There's a lot of art clients that come in there to pick up material or to drop off consignments. And this was the one that the art group really liked, because they said it looks like art with that patina. That's the way something like that's over 100 years old that was used should look. And this is just one of the most important bats that exists. Thank God it survived.
Yeah, and Joe Jackson is always going to be, he's going to be a figure in baseball history. And
Absolutely.
With the banishment and everything. And yeah, most of the stuff you find is post-career or post-MLB career, because he barnstormed, and that's when most of the material is really from. And the thing, I know we've mentioned it before, there's just not a lot of his stuff out there. And as far as game used, there's a couple bats, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Autographs are sparse. There's just not a lot of his stuff. And to have it from his rookie year, 408, I mean, that is just, that's the best bat in the hobby.
Yeah, beautiful one there. Up next, I love the story on this one. Great piece of history. It's a 1971 Frank Robinson game-used bat. This is the bat he used to hit his 500th home run. September 13th, 1971, doubleheader against the visiting Detroit Tigers. The first game was a blowout. They were winning the second game, so the crowd is estimated to have been fewer than 800 when he hit his home run, his 500th home run. It was in the bottom of the ninth. He hit the home run. After the game, he grabbed the Tigers team photographer and went out to find the fan who had caught the ball because he wanted it back. So he worked out a deal for some autographs to get the ball from the fan. The Detroit Tigers team photographer took his picture, and then when they were walking back, the photographer asked Robinson if he could have the bat, and Robinson just gave it to him.
So he wanted the ball more than he wanted the bat. That's incredible.
Exactly.
Why would he? Wow.
And he signed it at the time, and then he signed it again, likely at an autograph show, real nice autograph with the 500th home run bat inscription. So it's one of the best Robinson bats we've ever seen, and great piece. Very excited to see where that ends up.
I think him and the next guy we're going to be talking about are very, very undervalued and very underrated. Robinson, I think, should get much more love than he does. I mean, the 500 home run club, yes, but I mean, he won MVPs in both leagues, I believe.
Right.
And he's just a guy that should get, and he was the first African-American manager in baseball history too. And I think he gets lost a little bit in the grand scheme of things. Aaron, Mays, they get more of the headlines, but Robinson was just an amazing player for a long time too. And I think he, that right there is, just a wonderful bat. But I think there's room for him to really, really go up.
I agree. Who else is underrated? What's up next?
This next guy, Eddie Matthews, is one guy that I still think, should get much, much more love than he does. Yes, he played with Hank Aaron, and maybe Aaron got, a little bit more of the publicity, but this one here is really neat because it's an all-star game used bat, but it shows really nice wear. So it's something that he definitely would have probably used in the second half of the season as well. And it came from a Senator's bat boy, so provenance is there, and it's a player, Eddie Matthews, that kind of gets lost in time a little bit, but one of the nicer Matthews bats you could own.
Yeah, that's a great one. And I agree. He is definitely underrated.
Yeah, I think both of those guys are just criminally underrated. And I think this next guy, when you talk about all-time greats, Ichiro is, and we've talked about it, I think, with Joe before, how he took such great care of his bats. He didn't throw his bats. He had his own humidor for his bats and took great care of them. And this one comes right from him with a signed letter from Ichiro and the all-important PSA DNA game used 10 grade on this one. And I think when you take a step back and really look at the impact that he had on a global, I think Ichiro's one that when he goes in the Hall of Fame, which will be very soon, I believe, probably the next couple of years, I think you're going to see his stuff really go up in value because, again, it's got the nice autograph, the game use attribution to it, and it's got the grade and the letter from Ichiro. So, as we like to say, it checks a lot of boxes.
Beautiful one. And one more bat here, another one where I love the backstory. This is a 1956 Mickey Mantle game used bat. The best year to have a Mantle bat from, his finest season, no doubt, the Triple Crown year in 56. And the backstory on this one is great. He gave it to the bat boy for the Washington Senators. He was only the bat boy that year. So checks out that it's a 56 bat. It's been in that family ever since. It's being consigned by the widow of the bat boy. So it's only going to join. Mickey Mantle's owned it. The Bat Boys owned it. And whoever wins it tonight is number 3 on the list of who's owned this. And Tabi describes the use on this one as outstanding. So what's better than that? The best season he had and an outstanding use on the bat.
What I really like about that bat, it's fresh to the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that very rarely comes out. Something that, fresh to the hobby of that, of Mantle from an all-star game with such a high grade. So anytime you can get it from, directly from the family that had it, it's a big benefit to it. So yeah, that bat's performed really well too. I think it was almost at like 180,000, I think, last time I checked.
And I think it's going to go a little further.
I do too. Yeah. I mean,
because guess what time it is, Tony?
It is 10:03. We are in extended bid right now.
So we're going to take a quick break. Tony, you hit the bid board real quick. Let's get some highlights from the bid board.
Bob Cousy, 16,000.
We were just talking about that.
We were just talking about that. Kevin Garnett, photo match rookie jersey, 16.5.
That is the only photo matched Kevin Garnett rookie jersey that has ever hit the auction block.
Wow. What I like about that one is they switched to a different style, I think, in his second or third year. So
Right.
That style was only worn by him as a rookie. Then they went to a different style, which is gorgeous in itself. But this one here is really neat. Yeah, and you got the trunks with it as well.
Full uniform from the big ticket.
Yes.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, Mr. Joe Orlando is going to join us again, and we're going to talk about some of the items in Session 3 tomorrow as well, including some great collections that we'll have closing tomorrow night. Plus, we'll keep track of where all the bids are and maybe talk about Babe Ruth's jersey a little bit. Who knows? But we'll see you in just a little bit.
Unique Mickey Mantle game used bat. Got a labeling period of 1955 to 1958 during his Triple Crown run and when he was just dominating the baseball scene. The knob was initially removed and made into a stool along with other game used bats from period superstars of the 1950s. It was restored. There was a knob put back on, which is the correct model number for Mantle during this time period. There's hit marks throughout, ball marks, deadwood. It kind of checks all the boxes. Very rare Mantle bat from a labeling period you don't typically see all that often. LeBron James, now the all-time scoring leader in NBA history. These were worn in 2012, March 16th. They've been photo matched. 29 points, 8 assists he had in this. It makes these really cool. Signed them both. His autograph has been really tough to get. Did a King James inscription on one, and then his standard autograph on the other. Red and the black from his days with the Miami Heat. There's no end in sight this year. He's going to play with his son on the Lakers. A nice pair of photo matched LeBron James game-worn sneakers.
All right, and we're back. There's Tony. Tony's the star. More me. There we go.
No, you're the star of the show.
So we are in extended bidding for session 2. If you're bidding on items in session 3, you got all day tomorrow. So session 2 is in extended bidding. Some incredible items. We're going to find new homes in not too long. But I've got great news, Tony.
What do we got?
The professor, the savant.
The professor's back. We got to behave ourselves now.
is back. Mr. Joe Orlando, ladies and gentlemen, returning to the show.
By contract, you now have to announce me as the light bulb replacement.
Yeah, right. Looks nice and bright. Did you use the long-lasting LED lights in there? I hope?
That's right. Yeah, I went to Home Depot in between sessions, and we're good now. We're good.
All right, so we've got some incredible collections in the auction, and I remember when you brought this one in, Joe, kind of astounded everyone. So let's give it its due.
Guys, just one thing: the Babe Ruth jersey just got hit.
Oh, excellent!
Right.
You keep us posted on that.
Wow.
Fun times. Yeah, what I have to say is minuscule compared to that.
No.
Look, first of all, I've learned my lesson. I'm going to move a lot more quickly this time because I talked everyone's ear off my first time.
Everybody's here to hear you, Joe.
Yes.
They don't want us prattling on all night.
We get an education every time you're on here. I love it.
No, well, look, I appreciate the kind words. So, as Mike said, one of the collections that came in, we have given it the sort of moniker, the pedigree of the Southside Bobby collection. And this collection was assembled by a father and son who were chasing autographs in person from roughly the late 1950s through the late 1960s. That's where most of the material came from. And there were, I think, over 3,000 total items in the collection, and the majority of them were signed cards. But what made this collection, I think, so special is that, look, we've all seen the vintage signed card market has been one of the most robust of all the categories in the last few years. However, the reality is that most vintage, I say in quotes, vintage signed cards do not have a vintage autograph. They have an autograph that came much later when the hobby started to boom in the 1980s and the 1990s. A lot of the Hall of Famers, what did they do? They made the rounds at the conventions and signed a lot. And so what you'll see is a lot of, Sharpie signatures from much later in their lives and post-career versus period signatures. And what is so beautiful about this collection, by definition, it is all period. When they stopped. Southside Bobby, as we call him, he never collected as an adult. He did this with his father. It was something that was really important to him, this endeavor. But when they stopped chasing, he stopped collecting. And so years later, he was presented with this collection by his mother. He didn't realize that the collection had been preserved all these years. It was unfortunately after his father had passed away. And she said, it was kept all of those years. And he was presented with the collection, held on to it until now. That was roughly 20 or so years ago, but held on to it till now. And he decided it was time to part with it. So if we can start running through.
First, Joe, how many times have you heard someone say when they're looking at cards, I had that, but my mom threw it out when I left? This is the opposite.
Right. That is part of what makes this special. Like literally, this is where the mom saved the day. It's not the case where she threw the stuff out. She saved it because otherwise he wouldn't, he didn't, save it himself. The mother and the father had preserved it all those years. So the very first item that's up here, the reason I picked this one to show is that we have sold, I think there was one example of it. It was a very high grade Bob Gibson card that came with a signature that was likely signed probably in the 1990s or so, sold for over $50,000. How many Bob Gibson rookie cards have a period rookie era Bob Gibson signature on it? And you can see right there in beautiful ballpoint right next to him, there it is. So the card itself is not super high grade, but I think it's really interesting because the signature matches the era of the card.
And signed in a good spot there. Tough issue to find some negative space to sign in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, and that we'll be talking about that too. Talking about the idea of, how card design kind of affects value and aesthetics as well. So the very next one is a 1961 Topps Roger Maris. Now, this is one of my favorite cards in his entire collection. Simply, it's the aesthetics of it. Now, on top of the aesthetics, you have this beautiful period signature right where you would want it to be. And it's graded a mint 9. So it's just an outstanding, well-preserved signature. Again, not just technically graded high, but in the right spot. If you wanted him to sign the card, that's exactly where you'd want him to sign it. The card itself is very presentable. It's a beautiful card. But what's so cool when you think about that card, it is likely, based on my conversations with him and how he collected, what he would do is he would collect everybody, not just the stars, the players that most people don't recognize, but he would go year to year, set to set. So it is likely, although we can't prove it, that this was signed during the 1961 season when he was chasing Ruth. So it just kind of adds a little extra to it. But the main thing, again, is that I'm going to guess that most Maris cards that are out there and have a signature, they're either late, they're probably late in life, certainly post-career. This is a period signature. We can't prove it's from 61, but it's certainly around the era of when the card came out, and that just makes it special.
Whew. Yeah, that one's awesome, and especially since it's from that era, and it could be during the home run chase, which from the story it sounds like it likely is.
Yeah, no, exactly. So and again, when you look at the card and you see kind of the aesthetics, and by the way, there's another card in the collection that's also in the sale. And by the way, all the Southside Bobby items close tomorrow night that are in this auction. You'll see a lot more of them coming up in October. That's where the majority of the cards will be. But we tried to cherry pick the real special examples to put into this platinum sale because it was such a special auction. One of maybe my favorite card of his entire collection is a 1961 Topps Roberto Clemente. There it is. I mean, look at the condition of the card and look at the placement of the signature. Again, this is where technical grade is one thing. Now, to make the point, if Roberto Clemente had played the same exact signature, but he ran it along the cap or he ran it along the side, it still would have graded a mint 9 because all the grade does is reflect the condition of the signature. It does not necessarily account for the eye appeal of the placement of the signature. Here, he put it in such a wonderful spot. And when you combine the condition of the card itself, which is a 6, it's a very presentable grade, with the condition of the auto, I mean, that in his entire collection, which has thousands of signed items, that's my favorite right there.
Yeah, you got to wonder, was Southside Bobby instructing them on where to sign? Like, maybe Roberto, you just put it right here and this spot would be great. Because so many of them, looking through it, are perfectly placed.
Yeah, and what people will see, we only have a couple of cards from 61. We have the Maris and the Clemente and Platinum. When they see the near set that we're going to be offering in October, that was clearly his favorite because the condition of the cards was just head and shoulders above his. He had a 59 set that's a near set. He had a 60 set that's a near set. His 61s across the board are just, I mean, they're absolutely gorgeous. They're generally in the XX mint range. Some are higher, but for those who collect, again, true period signed cards, that's hard to come by, you know, cards in that condition. So it's just really, really spectacular. But if it's possible to keep going with this, I'm not sure it is. There we go. Now we're going to go into a different direction. So we know about, you know, Clemente and Maris and their mantles in there and all the superstars that you'd want, Mays, Aaron, Koufax, and so forth. But he also collected the more obscure guys that were very good players at the time, but not necessarily the biggest stars in the league. Now, this is a story of tragedy here, but Big Daddy Gene Lipscomb he's a guy that, the way I like to put it is, you know, we all sports fans like to play this game of, could that guy hold up today physically? Was he athletic enough? Could he hold up today? Well, Gene was 6'6", ran about 300 pounds, and he was athletic. He could hold up today. He was a guy that physically had the ability, the size, the speed, that he was well ahead of his time in terms of just being agile at that sheer size. Now, two things here one is sort of, you know, fun, and one is very sad and tragic. He signed Big Daddy. That's how he signed his name. Now, if anyone needed proof as to what Gene Lipscomb's personality was like, and that he would actually sign his name Big Daddy and not his, you know, his birth name, that tells you all you need to know about the man in terms of his personality. He was kind of this, again, a kind of a larger than life, kind of just gregarious type guy. And so he would literally sign his name Big Daddy, which is fun. Now, the tragic side of this is that, you know, he had some demons off the field. He liked to, you know, engage in certain things. And he actually died of a heroin overdose when he was only 31 years old, which makes his autograph. And this is something that, again, we all know as collectors, sometimes that's what makes an autograph rare, or an item rare, is a sudden tragedy like that, an early death. And so there are these other stories within the entire Southside Bobby collection that are really extraordinary. Some of them are tragic, like this one. But in terms of rarity, as far as I know, even till this point, this is literally the only signed card of his in the entire PSA database. So that's how scarce an item like this is.
I mean, Joe, if your name was Gene and you had the nickname Big Daddy, which one would you be signing?
Look, I'm not cool enough to have such a creative name like that. But yeah, if I could get away with it, certainly I would. Yeah.
And I love that the ink matches the jersey color as well. Yeah. I wonder if that was just coincidence.
Yeah, it's just a great, again, tragic, but one of many, many interesting stories inside of the Southside Bobby collection.
That's a great one. And yeah, let's keep going.
Yeah, so there most of the items, like we talked about, were trading cards, but he also acquired photos. Now, again, most of it was in person. There were some things that were done through the mail. Here we have a pair of Gem Mint 10 autos, two different photos slabbed by PSA of Roger Maris. And they're just, again, because they're period and because of their condition, they just make them a little extra special. So this is a nice offering. You get two different images of Maris during his playing, signed during his playing days, in the pen that, most collectors would prefer if they had the choice.
Right. Beautiful images too of Maris there.
Yeah, this is, I love this. So there are a couple of magazine photos of Clemente that are in platinum. Now, usually when you say magazine photo, automatically a collector says, nah, I prefer like a real photo on the thicker stock. But in the PSA holder, look how extraordinary this magazine photo appears in the holder. It presents so beautifully. It fits perfectly. And then you talk about hitting the signature right where you want it to be. He signs it right along the bat, and it is an absolutely just gorgeous signature right where you'd want him to sign it. This, and you can see it's already exceeding. This doesn't end till tomorrow, but it's already above estimate. And because people can see, look at the eye appeal and the presentation of that photo.
The aesthetics are off the charts.
Yeah. It's absolutely beautiful. And he signed it again. If he signed it in the dark area, he still would have achieved the the grade would still be the same because it's just on condition, but he placed it right in the right spot, and right where a collector would want to see it. So just tremendous presentation value.
Love it. Keep going. Keep going.
So yeah, we have others. So there's some Clemente photos like this one, very similar to the Maris photos that are encapsulated. Again, a Gem Min 10 autograph of Clemente. It looks gorgeous, presents well in the photo. And there are some others, but yeah, I would tell people there's probably about I think there's roughly about 15 to 20 Southside Bobby lots in this particular sale. There's going to be more in October, but the real premium items are in this sale: the Clementes, the Mantles, the rookie Gibson, the Maris. There are no higher end Clementes coming later. This was the best of the lot, and with Clemente we had 59, 60, and 61 signed cards.
We call that transparency right there, laying out the plan for the future auctions of a huge collection.
Yeah, no, I think it's important that people know that because the collection was large, but this is the opportunity. I would not wait because you're not going to see another 61 or 60 or 59 signed Clemente. Same thing with Mantle. Same thing with the Maris cards. Like those, they're all one of ones inside the collection.
Yeah, so much more from that collection to come, certainly. Thousands of signed cards, but one of the great stories from the auction.
No, for sure. So if it's possible, is it possible to move on to the next group?
Indeed, we've got them all. Tommy, you've been blocked. Tommy, pay your invoices.
Tommy.
There we go.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so yeah, this is the reason I selected this one is, again, sometimes, it's fun to look for value, I guess is one way to think about it. Because this ball was personalized, it's not going to go for near as much as a non-personalized Clemente single ball. But all I would tell people is look at the condition of both the ball and the writing, and you get a lot of writing for Clemente on that side panel. It for someone who can't spend tens of thousands of dollars on a super high end Clemente single, this is a nice option. It's an official ball. It's in extraordinary condition, and you get a lot of writing, and it's uniform. There's nothing about the ball or the writing that stands out. And there goes the. Hold on, I'm gonna try to get this off. This is too much. Harry, we got to talk to Heritage about this. Here we go.
I mean, I thought you were the one that changed the lights. So.
I did. I guess apparently I got to go back. So
we have to get Tommy to fix the lights.
You got to get Tommy to fix it. Somebody. But in any event, I think it's an opportunity for someone who, again, is not a player for a single that is non-personalized on the sweet spot. And look, you see where the bidding is sitting. It really is, in terms of just condition, it is a beautiful Clemente ball. So
he used the whole panel, but didn't run up on the seams on any part of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So again, looking for value, I think that's interesting, and we can kind of move on to the next slide. I'll start moving through this more quickly. I know we're having some technical difficulties. So I selected this one. So this is a 1952 Brooklyn Dodgers team ball. Now, some people are going to probably be wondering, why the heck did I pick this out of all the great things in there? Again, it's about opportunity. So this ball does, unfortunately, have a lot of clubhouse signatures on it. But ironically, the two signatures that are the most in demand and the most valuable on the ball, Jackie Robinson and Roy Campanella, are not clubhouse. So for someone who's looking for an extraordinary period, team ball, where the two main guys, and in particular Robinson, of course, Jackie Robinson, to have a period Robinson on, and you can see the condition of the ball. The ball is absolutely outstanding. I believe it graded mint 9 overall for the signatures, and the ball itself is in terrific condition. And it is a mini ball. Let's make that clear. It's a junior size, so it's not full size. But in terms of just uniformity and presentation, I mean, this is sitting at a little over $1,000, and it's a playing days Brooklyn Dodgers period, both Campanella, pre-accident, of course, and Jackie Robinson on a ball that has some clubhouse signature. So again, if this were a full-size ball, and B, did not have a lot of those other clubhouses, I mean, we'd be talking about a ball that might be $20,000, $30,000 or more. So again, opportunity for someone who might be on a budget that's looking for something interesting. This could be for you.
Tony, can you give us an update on the Babe Ruth jersey?
15.4. It's gotten hit, I think, 2 more times. So yeah, the shoeless Joe Jackson bat, that one got bid on 1.6. So yeah, a lot of really strong bids coming in right now. And I think it's going to be a nice long evening for us here.
Yeah.
In a good way, though. In a good way.
It always is. All right, Joe. Let's keep going.
We'll keep rolling here. So I think the next group, I believe, is from the Ramsburg collection. So
yes.
This is a collection that we started, I believe, in February Platinum, and we have continued through most of our catalog auctions, offering different pieces from the collection that had in the neighborhood of 10,000 cards from the late 19th century and early 20th century. Most of them, of all the cards were T206s. There were over 3,000 T206s in the collection. And there are some really nice pieces in our summer platinum event. Now, this is one of the tougher backs. It's not one of the extremely tough backs, but it's sort of in the middle. It's not one of the easy backs like the traditional Piedmont and Sweet Caporal Cobbs. It's a Tolstoy back. And again, what you'll see with all of these lots, and we can just run through them to kind of, I know I'm taking up a lot of time here. So as you take a look at them, you can zero in on them. The freshness, the color of a lot of these cards, they're not like this one in particular. If you want to zoom in on that, if that's possible. I mean, look at the blues and greens on this Christy Mathewson dark cap. Wow. I mean, it's gorgeous. Now, technically, it's only, again, quote unquote, it's only a 3.5. And I think when you look at all of these Ramsburg lots, both the individual cards and the larger lot, they have such tremendous eye appeal for the grade. They have typical defects for the time, but because they were kept out of sight for so long and they weren't handled over and over again in the the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, they retained that level of eye appeal in the colors. So I mean, look at this. Look at the green on this Cy Young portrait. I mean, wow, it's gorgeous. And so all these, I think most of them they go off tomorrow night. In fact, I think all of them go off tomorrow.
Correct.
So just something to look at. Here's a great one. Bare Hand Show Cy Young. They all have such vibrant color. They range usually from about 2 to about 4 in terms of grade, but they offer eye appeal. Now, this is a great lot. This, for someone looking to build a foundation for a T206 set, we assembled a really nice offering here of almost 450, if I recall, 450 cards with dozens of them graded by PSA, dozens of the Hall of Famers and stars graded by PSA. And again, what I would encourage people to do, we have such great high resolution images on our website. Blow up these montages, these that we have on there, and take a look at the color and the eye appeal of some of these cards. And they range from the 2-ish all the way to 5-ish, but you'll see that the fronts of the cards, they really offer a lot in terms of eye appeal. And for someone thinking about, again, getting started, building a foundation, what a wonderful way to do it.
That's amazing. Yeah. T206 is such a popular set to collect and one of the most difficult. So I think there are people who are hesitant to put their toe in if they've never done it, especially if they've been in the hobby for a long time. But a lot like this, where, immediately you're just jumping in up to your neck, essentially right away.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about it on the show many times before. It's getting harder and harder to assemble sets by hand, piece by piece. So to get a head start like this and establish a foundation with so many Hall of Famers already graded and with great eye appeal, I mean, and you can see the secret's out. It's already well above estimate already. We haven't even gone into Sunday yet. So people are observing it. They're recognizing the opportunity, and we're excited for them because I think a collector is going to be very happy with this lot.
And Joe, the king of collections this auction, also an incredible Cracker Jack collection that's available tonight and tomorrow.
Yeah, so this is the one card that's available tonight, which is a Pop 1, 8.5 with only one higher, Grover Cleveland Alexander. one of the things that is really interesting about when you start talking about cards of this era, and when you look at population reports, when we were doing our research and our catalogers were putting together these lots and writing the descriptions, what's quite amazing is that with most of these cards, the pop reports have barely moved or not moved at all in all of these years. I mean, like 5, 10, 15, 20 years. High grade cards from this era are just, that's okay. We can look at a blank screen. But they're so difficult to come by. So the opportunity here, there's, I think, 26 Hall of Famers in either 8, 8.5, or 9. Here's another one. Beautiful card, Eddie Collins, and an 8.5 Bresnahan. I mean, one after the other. It is very rare these days to get a shot at so many in one auction. I mean, it's been, as far as I could tell, it's been quite a while, at least years since this has happened. So here we have a situation where we have everyone from, you know, some of the Hall of Famers that we saw on the screen to guys like Tris Speaker, you know, Mordecai Brown, you name it. But it's a great opportunity for someone who just needs to fill a hole in their set, or wants to get a type card or start building. Because again, you can look back through not just Heritage, but any of the auction platforms that are out there. I can't recall, at least any time recently in the last few years, that so many high grade Hall of Famers have been available all at once. So it's just a wonderful opportunity for the set builder.
And I'll say, while we had the preview in the New York office, like I said earlier, a lot of art clients coming in, and we had a whole wall of cases with all the cards on display, you know, 6-figure cards, 7-figure cards, and they were interested in them all. But those Cracker Jacks were by far the favorite. Everyone who has nothing to do with sports or in the industry, they said, what are those? What's the story behind those? And then you tell them that they were in boxes of Cracker Jacks and could be exposed to caramel, and they were just amazed at the condition and that they survived. So, you know, part of collecting is showing off and bragging. So if you're looking for something that people outside of our industry are really interested in, the Cracker Jacks are checking that box.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think just that Cracker Jack connection is so important here, you know, to baseball, to the game, you know, to the 7th inning stretch. It's just, because it's connected to the game in that way, it just makes them special. Plus the design. I mean, I've always loved the Cracker Jack sets, both 14 and 15, because that red background, the images just pop off of that red background. And you brought up something very interesting about condition. I mean, when I was growing up in the hobby, I was always confused because the 1914 set, like, let's make this clear, is many, many times more difficult than 1915. And the reason for that is that you could send away with coupons. If you earned enough coupons, or coupons plus a little bit of money, you could actually send away for a factory set. And there was also an album that would come with that factory set. So here's what's interesting. Even though the 14s are much more difficult, they're so difficult that many collectors, A, are not up for the challenge in some cases. And then B, if you like high grade cards, good luck finding 1914, because the only way they were available was in the packaging. At least with 15s, there's enough that circulated out there that came from this factory set redemption program that allows someone that appreciates, you know, the top quality cards and appreciates the eye appeal of those cards to be able to assemble a set. It's certainly not easy, but in relation to the 14s, because there's enough available, more people collect the set, which is kind of an interesting dynamic from the collecting standpoint.
And a great point about the connection of Cracker Jacks, which still exists. People still eat it. We've had it at our previews to hand out when people are looking at these. And for most products that sold cards, they don't exist anymore, whatever that product was. Right. But there is a direct connection. Everyone alive, I would say, has eaten Cracker Jacks at some point in their life. So you're experiencing the same thing that first person who pulled that card out was experiencing when you're looking at it. I love drawing that parallel right there.
Yeah, no, I think it's really interesting. I will say, as someone who grew up eating boxes upon boxes of them at the ballpark as a kid, the candy has changed a little bit. Like
It has.
it's not as I remember when I was a kid. It was much messier and gooier. It was a little more. They probably didn't want to tell us what was actually in those boxes back in the day. It's a little more cleaned up these days, but it's still, like you said, it's still alive today. It's still part of the, the seventh inning stretch, and they're just great cards in a set that is absolutely filled with Hall of Famers. I mean, so again, going back to the auction tonight, and then so many of them are going off tomorrow night. A very unique opportunity for somebody, because this doesn't come around that often. This collector had these for nearly, in some cases, nearly 3 decades. So it doesn't come around often. So I would suggest, if you're interested in these, take advantage while you have the chance.
All right, Joe, a pleasure as always. So much information to share. We appreciate you joining us. If people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way? Mostly if they want to talk about your opinions on the changes in Cracker Jacks.
Yeah, and how many braces I broke on those Cracker Jacks. Those and Starbursts, when I was a kid. Probably the best way to start is joeo@ha.com. It's the easiest way to get a hold of me, and I'm always, whether you're interested in consigning, bidding, or just need a sounding board for collecting, I'm happy to be that guy. So again, joeo@ha.com.
One of my favorite people at Heritage and one of the best people in the industry. I'm required to say that contractually. Thank you for joining us. Tony's lights are looking a little dim. Maybe you could head over there and get.
Can you help me out here?
I'll be right over, Tony. I'll be right over.
Thank you. I'll be
Thank
waiting.
you very much, Joe. Much appreciated. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are well into extended bidding. The Ruth jersey is still alive, still going. Everyone excited to see where it'll end. You can see it at ha.com. I know many of you are watching at the recent bid screen already. Tony, can we get a quick update on what's
the Mickey Mantle game used bat from 56, 300,000. Barry Bonds game used photo matched to 3 games, 2 home runs, 23,000. I mean, it is just a flurry of bids coming in here. This is kind of an interesting one. The 83 Topps complete set, all in Gem Mint 10, plus
Very
the traded
cool
set. 80,000. Yeah, that's a set from my childhood.
Same. I think a lot of people collected that and thought they had 10s, did not, and then now they've got an opportunity to own a complete 10 set of 83 Topps.
All the work is done for you. You don't have to do. All you got to do is click and bid, and you don't have to worry about anything else, sending any cards in. I mean, all the work is done. Wilt Chamberlain, 320,000 as well right now. So
there we go.
A lot of action, and this is the fun time for us to see all those bids coming in.
All right, Tony, how can people get a hold of you if they want to talk Cracker Jacks or other snacks, any other snacks? There it is.
Tony G at ha.com. Call me if you, like I said, if you want to talk about the hobby or any of that. We love doing it. And this is an incredible auction. That's all I can say.
So thanks for watching. Keep your eyes on the auction. Don't forget, we have 100 lots closing tonight, some very high value. But what's important to us is that we always offer something for every collector, no matter what level you collect at. Session 3 tomorrow is over 800 lots. It goes as low as items that are a few $100s. I myself cannot afford an 8-figure shirt. So I understand if you are in that group, believe me, we are the bigger group. We are the majority. So a huge thank you to our consigners and bidders. Obviously, we cannot do it without you and the incredible team we have at Heritage. It has been a pleasure meeting all of you and talking to all of you at all these shows and previews, and we can't wait to do it again. We have another auction coming up next month. We're finishing the catalog next week, and we will be at so many shows. Tony, what's the next show you're at?
Oh, my goodness. I think Montreal's my next one.
Oh.
So that'll be in October. November, it starts to get really busy again. So we get these auctions done, head out on the road. So we will be out there pounding the pavement.
plenty of consignment opportunities, and also a big thank you to everyone back in the control room, the 24 people that help us put this show on. It'd be impossible. It would be impossible for one person to do all this. So it's a huge group, and we are deeply indebted to them. You can find me at mikep@ha.com, or the best way to get a hold of me is I run the social media pages for Heritage Sports. Please DM us there. We do free appraisals. Try to stump our team, I say. And everyone, have a great night and good luck in the auction. We will see you next time.